And we are live. Welcome to the process. It is Tuesday, January 17th. I am Josh Engleman, and I'm here to break down a four-game NBA slate. We got an easy one again today, coming off of yesterday's DraftKings 5-gamer, at least FanDuel 7-gamer, a little bit different, but another easy one. Simple. Got 9 games then tomorrow. We'll have a big one, one of the long 90-minute plus process shows, but this one should move pretty quickly. Good to see everybody here this morning. If you're here, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman. Bummer yesterday, man. I had a very sizable stand on Kyle Anderson. I had a very sizable stand on Walker Kessler, and I had a very sizable stand on Darius Garland and just couldn't get the pieces together. Break-even day, unfortunately. But, I was there. Too much Malik Beasley, too much Jordan Clarkson. Needed one of those two guys to be functionally good, particularly Clarkson. That would have been the helpful one. But what are you going to do? We're on to the next one. 4 games today. Ready to just break it down, too. It was a good night. Yeah, TJ McConnell, Adam and I talked about McConnell on the strategy show. He was going to go nuts the moment we started talking about it. And he did in 24 minutes or whatever it was. But for now, those games are in the rear view. It is time to break everything down. So let's get into it. I got no other random stuff, and I desperately want to drink my coffee. So if you've got a coffee, I hope you're joining me with it. If not, if you've got tea or water or beer, that would be great. Cheers to you guys. Rise and grind, everybody. Let's get it done. Slightly too hot. Whew. Didn't enjoy that. Slightly too hot. Oh, I forgot. I had a ton of Jared Allen yesterday, too. Yeah, I just couldn't get the pieces together. I mean, it's a high-scoring day. A lot of chalk did well. It's not like I'm the only guy, but let's get into it. 4 games. It's going to be simple. We're going to zip through this bad boy. And by the way, shout out to BetMGM. We're going to talk about them in a little bit, but happy to have them as a sponsor. So right away, the funniest parts of life are, we did get overtime, but we got bigger minutes for Toronto. It's hilarious. I don't really know what I need to do here for Toronto, just because they're on the back-to-back. I assume that we're just projecting them like we did yesterday. But I do think that it's interesting that we didn't see Christian Koloko yesterday at all. So I want to assume that he's not in the rotation, but at the same time, it starts to get a little scary because of the back-to-back. Like maybe he steps back in. Fred VanVleet played 40 minutes in regulation, as did Scotty Barnes, as did Pascal Siakam. So they kind of just went back to what they were doing, but with a heavier concentration on a couple different guys. So I am going to bump up Achua and get him to 19 minutes. I'll get Boucher to 17. I've got Malachi Flynn in for 13. He played 3. And then Juancho Hernan-Gomez, I have in for 10. He played 7. I don't know where else to give these minutes. I guess I have to bump up everybody else from Toronto, but it's a 4-game slate. I don't want to create the problem that I see that is about to come. So I'm going to hit Gary Trent with a 35th minute. I guess I'm going to hit VanVleet up to 36. I've got OG in for 36 already. I've got Scotty Barnes in for 34. He played 40 in regulation. So I guess I'll get him to 35. I've already got Siakam in for 37. I guess I got to get him to 38. So I'll give one more to Juancho just in case. Although, maybe it is a Precious gets to 20 day. Let me look at this quickly. All right, so Precious Achua did play. Gary Trent didn't play in overtime. Is that real? I feel like I have the wrong data, or at least Popcorn Machine has the wrong data. 46-1, 39-8. I've got Gary Trent in for different minutes than... his minutes just aren't showing up. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, Gary Trent's minutes just aren't showing up on Popcorn Machine. It was really weird. I was like, where are his minutes at? But for some reason, they didn't put him on in OT. I was like, none of this makes any sense. I mean, these guys just played... The starters just played massive minutes throughout the entire game. Precious Achua, if he didn't play in OT at all, yeah, I think I'm fine with 19 minutes, and I'm fine with... Like, I just don't know what to do with the Malachi Flynn minutes. Like, he played two, like, he didn't play in the first half. He played 2 minutes and 34 seconds in the third quarter. And he played alongside Fred VanVleet. This Toronto rotation is so stupid. I can't wait to talk to Adam about it. I don't know what to do with these guys. For now, as long as you get the starters right and Achua right, I think you're fine. But, like, depending on Chris Boucher's price, he could walk his way into being, like, a mildly interesting option. Like, I need to look up his usage rate right now, just because on a 4-game slate, that's the type of guy that, like, you might need that value. Siakam, VanVleet, Anunoby, Trent, and Barnes as a starting 5. What is Boucher's usage rate? Because it's not even like it's just with bench guys. All right, Boucher, 152 minutes with those guys starting. 18% usage rate. I'll keep him at his normal 17.5. That's just going to have to be Toronto. Now, on the Milwaukee side, also on a back-to-back. So we're not going to spend too much time on this one, especially with Milwaukee. We had no Giannis yesterday. Clearly, that is an important piece of this. Giannis has missed the past 3 games. I don't know what else to do other than assume that he is playing today. So I'm not going to touch the rotation that I have in for Milwaukee right now. I got Drew in for what I think are going to be normal minutes. Actually going to bump him up a minute. Beauchamp didn't play yesterday. They went to more Wara. That's interesting. Carter played less. Okay. Maybe I do have to make at least a mild tweak or something here, because I have to assume Beauchamp doesn't play. And then I want to get Jordan Wara up to 18 minutes or so. Although, yeah, I have to assume that Beauchamp is just going to be out of the rotation if that happened. Wes Matthews played yesterday. Did he like actually play? I mean, like, none of this should matter, but all right, Wes Matthews played a third quarter rotation. Brook Lopez minutes, fine. Portis minutes, fine. Maybe that should be 26. 33 for Giannis works for me. 26 for Grayson Allen. I'm going to make 27. I'm fine with those minutes going to War. Oh, yeah, we get Joe Ingles back. I knew we were missing somebody. So we'll get Ingles in for 23. Yeah, now it makes more sense. I was like, I know that there's a body missing here. Yeah, 11 minutes out of Carter. But he played in the first half and then didn't play in the second half. They basically skipped out on Javon Carter and went to Wes Matthews instead. I'm going to take him down a peg. Maybe get him to 18. And then say that Wes Matthews continues to play. Give him 8 minutes. But again, this is all a guess. We need to wait till 1:30 to get the injury report for Milwaukee anyway. It's possible we see Chris Middleton return today too, so I'm not going to spend too much time guessing over this Milwaukee rotation. That's just not going to be it's just not going to be worth it for us. So, for right now, assuming everybody is in for Milwaukee except for Chris Middleton, I think Giannis looks okay. 11-8, 11-4. It's Giannis Antetokounmpo, so it's when he plays and it's a 4-game slate, he's got a pretty high ceiling. 8K Drew on DraftKings, $7,900 Drew on FanDuel. That's unequivocally where we want to look most. Whether Giannis is in or not, Drew looks good. If Giannis happens to be out again, then Drew becomes the best play on the slate like he was yesterday. They're close to it. I also like Brook Lopez quite a bit for 5,800. He's a fantasy point per minute guy. I like the spot. Nothing too crazy. $3,500 Joe Ingles on DK will probably be like a value play-ish just because of the positionality. Same for Pat Connaughton, although the price is climbing a little bit too far at this point. Hard to want to go to Portis at this price tag unless Giannis ends up out. Toronto, I'm afraid to even type in. Yeah, as I expected. So the starting five are obviously interesting. They're more interesting on FanDuel than they are on DraftKings. Pascal Siakam gets the power forward eligibility and saves $300 in salary on FanDuel. Like, he's an unequivocal great play. Fred VanVleet is $700 cheaper on FanDuel. Like, he's a good play on DK. He's a great play on FanDuel. Anunoby looks good on both sites. Better on FanDuel. Gary Trent looks good on both sites. Probably better on FanDuel. Scotty Barnes looks good on both sides. Actually better on DraftKings. He's $300 cheaper on DK. But the key piece that we need to talk about here, Precious Achiuwa is a $3,300 center. And on a day where with only 4 games, value could be limited. We have the mechanism of Joel Embiid. I don't know who's in or out yet. I didn't get there, but we have Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic on the slate. What does paying down for a $3,300 Precious Achiuwa do when we have the 2 big center guns as well? Is there enough raw? Can he get to enough raw points? That's where it gets tricky. And then Boucher for $3,500 is worth some sort of roll of the dice. Power forward eligible. There's some value to be found here for Toronto. It's going to be tricky. Anxious to see the first crunch. Game number 1 in the books. We can now go to game number 2. Brooklyn Nets, 6-point favorites in San Antonio, 234 total. Now, Brooklyn isn't on a back-to-back, which makes this a lot easier. Ben Simmons is available. Obviously, KD is out. No David Duke, no Kessler Edwards, and no Drew Smith. I'm going to gut this rotation. Actually, yeah, I'm going to gut this rotation and get it built now that we have 2 games without Durant. Man, that coffee's good. It is my favorite part of the day, really is this first cup of coffee breaking down basketball with you guys. Hey, what can we do? What can we do to change this show? What doesn't get shown enough? What do you guys want to see? Christopher, for those that don't see the chat, it's a question about building out your own projections. When you say you're struggling to apply any sort of points differentiation, I'm not sure what you mean by that. All right, Kyrie is going in for 36 minutes. Royce O'Neal is going to go in for 35. Know that we're going to get Clax in for 31. Now, the first game, the Thursday game, we didn't get like Markieff Morris or Day'Ron Sharp. That took Simmons being out. Yeah, Christopher, I'm sorry. I don't totally understand what you mean. All right, backup center. I guess we're gonna go and just say it's basically Ben. How much have they been staggering those guys? I actually don't really know. So we get Ben Simmons. We get Nick Claxton. Nick Claxton, by the way, block shots like a crazy person. He is having a crazy. Okay, Zeke. I'll see you in 5 minutes, Zeke. All right, so they obviously play alongside of each other a ton. And then there's always, for the most part, there's always one of them on the floor, or at least there was. But they do sort of miss a little bit of time. So we're going to say, you know, we normally get Watanabe in for about 20 minutes. So I'm going to go 10 and 10 there. That gives me 7 for Simmons at center. And then, I don't know, 28? I don't want to go too crazy on his minutes. Then we can get to TJ Warren. Warren played 28 the first game, 22 the second game. I'm going to say 26. Get Royce O'Neal in for his 35, so that's easy. We get Joe Harris, who played basically 28 minutes in both games. I'm going to go right to 28. Chard Razman Porzingi with the super chat. We'll pop that bad boy up on the screen quickly. Love the show the way it is. Thank you, Josh. Yeah. I love the show the way it is too. I was just thinking, like, is there anything we're missing nowadays? Larry, I see where you're going there. I sort of just look at that as like the power rankings at the end, because that's basically the cumulative list. It's just not in my sheet. I should do the prop video with Adam. He'd probably love to let me do the prop video. Late swap strategy based on the best plays. Okay. Something to think about. Appreciate that, Mark. All right, so who are we missing yet? Seth Curry, and I guess technically nobody. So if I give Seth Curry the 25 minutes or whatever that he's been playing, I'd have 11 minutes left over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they went to that 8-man rotation on Thursday for all of these guys. Now they did unlock more dudes. Like Simmons missed 26 minutes, but was that blowout run on Sunday? Because getting the Brooklyn rotation right against San Antonio with a 234 total matters. Okay, so Day'Ron Sharp played in the second half, but you assume his minutes are just going to go away. Patty Mills, like Markieff Morris played a first half rotation. You assume those 12 minutes go away and just become Ben Simmons. But Edmund Sumner and Patty Mills played 24 minutes, and it wasn't just blowout run. I mean, Edmund Sumner started. Now, he basically got a Bogans. So I don't think Sumner's somebody like, I think that they could have a ninth guy here. And it honestly wouldn't surprise me for it to be Patty Mills. Or Sumner, I guess, to a degree. Because I don't really see anybody that I want to boost big time from a projection standpoint. I'll give one more minute to Watanabe. That gives me 10 left over. I'm going to say that it's Patty Mills. You could tell me that it's Edmund Sumner. Neither one of those things are going to matter. Rates can all stay the same. So, Ryan, that's basically just going to be, for the most part, that's just going to be the total of the game inverse. Like, the best game environment is just going to be, like, which games have the most projected fantasy points. And that's almost always going to be the games with the highest total. Because, like, if you think about it like this, if you think about it just from points, this game's expected to have 235 fantasy points scored just from points. Toronto, Milwaukee is expected to score 218. Like, right out of the gate, you're 17 points shy. So, in terms of game environment, it really is just sort of total. Now, if it's going to be total along with any problems in salary. So what you're really doing is just taking the projected fantasy points per minute of the game. But since everybody plays the same minutes, it's just projected fantasy points. Now, if you want to do like fantasy points per dollar of guys that are playing weighted by minutes, I think you could do something like that, but I don't think that you would see it change all that much. Like, I see it here, like, you know, like we could total up fantasy points on these teams if we wanted to. But I don't think that it would look all that different. Oh, God, I don't want to break down San Antonio. I'm already tired of this team, and it's January 17th. Like, these guys are just... Watching San Antonio for the rest of the year is going to be a real chore. So, Blake Wesley's with the G League. Charles Bassey's with the G League. Dominic Barlow's with the G League. Q tag on McBuckets, and we have no Devin Vassell. So, McBuckets didn't play on Sunday. It's upper back tightness. I don't think there's too much to dig into, but I am going to do the rotation from scratch again. So, let's start at point guard with Trey Jones, 30 minutes, easy. That part's easy. Jakob Poeltl played 31 minutes on Sunday. He's playing about 27 a game. We'll go to 27 here. Zach Collins is essentially the straight backup at center. They don't deviate too much from that. I can't give Zach Collins the 21 minutes on the opposite side, so I will give him 19. And we'll say that 2 of those other minutes go to Stanley Johnson or something, playing 14 minutes. Jeremy Sohan basically plays 28 minutes a game, so that works. And then the real question becomes, I guess we have to project Doug McBuckets in. He plays about 21 minutes a game. Now we get Keldon Johnson in 3 games back now after missing those 2. I mean, if we're being legitimate here, ignoring the game where he only played 13 minutes, he's averaging about 32 and a half minutes a game. So I'm going to give him 32. I have very little doubt that Keldon Johnson aggressively pops up in my projections. I like that dude every day. I never feel good about it, but he shows up in everything that I do. Okay, so now Malachi Branham's been like the backup point guard, right? I'm thinking about this team correctly. Admittedly, I don't spend a ton of time breaking down what I know the Spurs are doing because they're terrible. All right, so Trey Jones starts. Okay, so they do play alongside of each other a bit. Is it more Langford? Or do they just do they stagger everybody? Well, both. Yeah, no. It's mostly Branham. So we're going to go at a minimum 18 minutes to Malachi Branham. We're going to get Josh Richardson in for the 23 minutes that he appears to play every day. That leaves me 28 left over. I am going to say that Malachi Branham gets 4 more. So that leaves me 24 left over. Who haven't we projected? Romeo Langford, but I don't want to give him 24 minutes. Langford's going to be more like a 21 guy. Now, like a 19 guy. That leaves me 5. And I'm just going to throw those to Keita Bates-Diop as spillover. I'm nervous to look at San Antonio here. I have a feeling this game is going to be great. Yeah. So $6,200 Jakob Poeltl on DraftKings will be a disaster for me. He just projects as a different guy when Devin Vassell isn't out there. So just to walk through it, since we have some time, just in general for this season, when Jakob Poeltl has played, he's played 927 minutes this year, 18% usage rate, 18.2% usage rate. He's got a just under 11% rebounding rate. Assist rate doesn't matter all that much. But when you take Devin Vassell off, it just opens up everything for everybody. So in games where you got Jakob Poeltl starting, Keldon Johnson starting, and Trey Jones starting, and Devin Vassell wasn't on the floor, you get Jakob Poeltl in 456 minutes, gets a slight usage bump. I'm going to knock him down a little bit there. But and then Keldon Johnson's at 29 and a quarter. I'm actually going to knock that down a little bit too, save myself. Maybe it's been coming down a little bit since our last run. It's good to open that up. Trey Jones is actually a little bit higher. That's kind of crazy. Anybody else soak it up? Yeah, nobody else gets up over 20% usage. Trey Jones barely sneaks over it. Keldon Johnson at 29 and a quarter. He just dominates the ball. Nobody else to really bump here. Jay Rich is fine. Zach Collins, 263 minutes, 20% usage rate. Don't really have anything to add there. Like I said, Jay Rich is at... All right, Jay Rich being at 17 and a half is kind of interesting. I'm going to knock him down a little bit so that I don't see him too much. And then Sohan is at 16. He doesn't move. The rebounding rate, Jakob Poeltl, big time jump in rebounding. Which is always good to see. Keldon Johnson, on the other hand, not quite the bump that you're looking for. I have no idea where Poeltl lands. He's a weird guy to trade because he's not a guy that anybody needs. Charlotte's drafted 100 of them. Charlotte would be a great answer. Let's see. If I just pull up Basketball Reference just to look at teams. Not going to go to, and when I say not going to go to, I mean to be any sort of priority. No to Boston, Brooklyn, Milwaukee, Philly, Cleveland, New York, Miami, Indiana, Atlanta. If Chicago wanted to go a different direction than Vooch, I would get it. I actually think that would be pretty smart for Chicago, but that's neither here nor there. Could always go back to Toronto. They need a center, but they seem to also have 10 of those dudes that they don't play. Not going to go to Washington. Wouldn't make a ton of sense. Not going to go to Orlando. Not going to go to Detroit. Don't think that he would go to Charlotte, but that would work. No to Denver, obviously. No to Memphis. Memphis would be interesting if the price wasn't expensive. If you could somehow get off of Steven Adams and turn him into Jakob Poeltl, I think that would just be fun to see. Just get like a younger version of Steven Adams. Not going to go to the Pels. Not going to go to Sacramento. I mean, like, I'd love to see him in Dallas. It's never, that's not going to be a way that they cash anything in, but I wouldn't hate it. Not going to go to the Clippers. There's been a lot of talk about the Warriors. That one just doesn't make any sense to me. No use for it in Utah. No use for it in Minnesota. I mean, if you want him to be the new Yusuf Nurkic, I guess Portland would be okay. I don't really know what you're solving there. Just doesn't, the timeline's weird. I mean, if I'm Oklahoma City, I would be very interested in Jakob Poeltl and just paying him the going rate for like the next 2 or 3 years. You have the money, you have infinite picks, so you could go ahead and pay Jakob Poeltl the proper salary. He would dramatically change the Oklahoma City Thunder because they cobbled together a real defense with garbage, utter garbage. To get a real legitimate rim protector like Jakob Poeltl, I think he would really, really, really raise the floor of Oklahoma City heading into next year. I want him to go to OKC. That's my new prediction. That's what I want. It's never going to happen, but that's what I want. I think he would be incredible for the Thunder. Could play Chet alongside of him for sure. The rim protection in between the two of those guys would be ludicrous. No real interest in Phoenix unless you're trading Ayton. Lakers are useless. San Antonio, he's already on, and then Houston has no interest. Dr. DFS, my projections are, I have all the raw stats and database information from the past 7 years. Each day is worth incrementally less than the day before it, or incrementally more than the day before it. So everything that counts from yesterday counts more than any other day in the database, works its way all the way down to basically meaningless. So I create regress rates for everything that everybody does on a per possession basis, and then reapply that based on minutes. All right, so I'm good on projections now for the Spurs. I really enjoyed that that sidebar there. My new my new want is for Jakob Poeltl to go to OKC because it doesn't really screw them up for anything, and they wouldn't have to pay him that much money. That said, if they get Wemby, then it doesn't matter. I'm more than okay with what I'm looking at here for the Spurs, which means that I want just a ton of Jakob Poeltl. 6,200 on DraftKings just looks really good. I still like him on FanDuel at 7K. Trey Jones for 6,500. I'm more than okay with that price. A little high, but we're talking about a guy that's a little over a fantasy point per minute guy in this spot. Keldon Johnson looks fine. Jeremy Sohan looks fine. Malachi Branham is a bit of a problem. It's not ideal. Christopher, Chet isn't a center in the NBA. Zach Collins for 4K is an interesting tournament shout. And then for Brooklyn, I mean, all of Brooklyn? Wow. Okay, so like Kyrie, obviously. Royce O'Neal looks really solid. Nick Claxton for 7,200 on both sites. We got to remember how good of a matchup it is against San Antonio, but Claxton's great. Yeah, that's not how we determine positions, Christopher. Chet Holmgren will never be able to guard centers in the NBA. So defensively, he can't. They will likely need someone else to handle that sort of job. He will never be strong enough for that. Think of him more like Porzingis, where like you're still starting Daniel Gafford. He'll play some set, like he'll be the 5 on some lineups, and maybe like depending on the team, you get away with that closing. Like maybe progression wise, you know, we stop seeing the Goberts and Clint Capella type players of the world, but from a roster construction standpoint, they'll need some sort of thicker person to operate as the nominal defensive 5. Chet Holmgren will be best used as like the guy that guards the worst guy on the other team so that he can be a weak side rim protector. Sort of like the way, this isn't going to be totally the same thing, but like his best operation is going to be sort of as the way that Robert Williams gets used for Boston, in that he's kind of like a free safety. He'll be the offensive. I mean, he's just sort of going to be like a 4. It's the same way that like Bol can't be a 5. We got to get away from thinking like the tallest guy is the center. It's more about who you guard from a positional standpoint. I don't know how you separate out the Brooklyn Nets today, other than I think TJ Warren looks the worst on DK, and even still, he's viable. But because they're facing San Antonio, everything for Brooklyn looks good. Oh, there's the porn bots. I love Brooklyn. They're going to show up everywhere in our first crunch. I'm having fun talking basketball. Now I just want to get Jakob Poeltl to San Antonio, or to Oklahoma City. Look, they're going to make a play. They have so much future draft capital that isn't tied to them that I think that they're really ready. Like, they're going to be in the playoffs next year. Be ready for this. Oklahoma City Thunder are a playoff team next season. And depending on the way that things break, they could be a good one. Now, they have no chance to win anything real next year. They could be an actual good team that no one wants to play, depending on how everything breaks this offseason, because they've got everything. All right. Portland, 7-point dogs in Denver, 235 total. How the hell is this a 235 total? Portland is 20th in pace. Denver's 23rd. That's how bad both of their defenses are, I guess. What do we got for Portland? Gary Payton probable, Justice Winslow injured. So standard issue Portland rotation. I'm going to clear that out again. It just feels easier to project for today. So we're going to say Dame straight away going in for 36. I'm going to go ahead and get Anthony Simons also, maybe not also, straight in for 35. We'll go Nurk. Played very minimal minutes these past 2 games. I go 20, 29? 29 Nurk, 19 Eubanks. Jeremy Grant in for 34. And we get Jabari Walker backing that up. Josh Hart in at the 3 for 33. Nas Little's back. Good for him, man. That's good to see. That was a weird injury, man. I'm glad he was able to sign a contract and get a bit of a bag for himself, but I'm glad he's back. And then we got to split 25 minutes between Shaedon Sharpe and Gary Payton. I think Shaedon Sharpe's about to start playing like a lot less minutes. All right, maybe I do this. I go 12 to Nas Little, 12 to Shaedon Sharpe. None of it matters. Rotate minutes and projections and rates all stay the same here for Portland. I don't know what they're going to look like because I would have assumed this game looked bad, but it has the biggest total on the slate. Christopher, thank you so much for the super chat. Just pop that up on the screen. Said thanks for the insight. Happy to. Yeah, I'm very excited for the future of the Thunder. Although I will say I'm not a huge Josh Giddey guy. So there's also that. Let's do Denver now. For the Nuggets. Q tag on Bones Highland. Q tag on Chanchar. One second. Responding to something. Let's reproject Denver's rotation as well, just because we have the time. Jamal Murray played massive minutes over the past 2. Has no trouble really getting up into the high 30s. 7-point line concerns me a little bit. I'm going to go 34 to Jamal Murray. Nikola Jokic feels pretty reasonable, just playing basically the same amount of minutes, but I'm going to go 30. I'm going to go 34 on Jokic again. We'll go 14 to Najee. Edward, good morning. Let's see. We can do KCP. That dude's just playing 31 minutes a game like it's nothing. What else do we have here now? MPJ. I mean, this dude just plays like 28, 29 minutes a game. It's crazy. And then Aaron Gordon in for 30, I feel like is fine. Oh, shit. NBA strategy show today. Myself and Laffy. Just getting a message from Laffy right now. Yeah, apparently it's me and Laffy. Shark, they couldn't figure out how to play Nurkic and Jokic alongside each other for one reason. Because it's impossible. Those two guys shouldn't be playing alongside of each other. Their defense is scriggity screwed if you do that shit. All right, backup point guard, assuming Bones Highland is in, is Bones Highland. We will give Bones Highland 20 minutes. None of these backups matter. Vlaco Chanchar gets 18. Bruce Brown gets 25. And then 5 random old minutes can go to anyone. This is going to be fun for today. And I don't have to host, which makes my life so much easier. Rates all stay the same. I have nothing else to do here. I do feel like I should grab the new ones, but I've grabbed these recently, so I'm okay with the Denver side of this one, which means... All right, MPJ 5,400 on DraftKings is my preferred Denver piece. Clearly, I'm happy to go to $7,500 Jamal Murray. Paying up for Jokic is not going to be easy, but he certainly looks good. Gordon and KCP are all fine. Bruce Brown, if you have to do it, is fine. But MPJ is the actual priority for me. Yeah, there's aggressive defense to be played. It's Never been harder. For Portland, it's really just 5 guys plus Drew Eubanks. Drew Eubanks, this is where it's going to get crazy. One of these backup centers, the Drew Eubanks at the flat min at center today type stuff, one of these backup centers is going to be the guy that you really need today, just because of the way that the slate is set up. Lillard and Simons both look pretty similar relative to salary. Josh Hart looks solid enough to me at 5,600. I think I like Drew Eubanks more than I like Yusuf Nurkic. But Drew Eubanks has to play 19 minutes for that to matter. And it doesn't seem like Drew Eubanks gets to play more, even in the best case scenario. I'm going to take a minute away from Eubanks, because I think it's more likely he plays a little bit less. I mean, what does Ja Morant traveling or carrying on every highlight have to do with the fact that defense doesn't get played? Defense has never been harder to be played in the NBA than it is right now. The Philadelphia 76ers are 1-point favorites in LA, taking on the Clippers. Final game of the night, late night hammer here. Sixers are fully healthy. We'll do the whole rotation from scratch. That's easy enough to do. I do, however, want to point out one thing. And I talked about this on a show. The starting lineup for the Philadelphia 76ers on Sunday was James Harden, DeAnthony Melton, Tobias Harris, PJ Tucker, Joel Embiid. They did, in fact, move Tyrese Maxey to the bench. And I understand why they did it, and I'm glad that they did it, because I think that it makes more sense for the team structure. Doesn't change anything about Maxey's play. It doesn't change anything, assuming they're going to do it again. It just moves the resources around in a better manner, in my opinion. So I agree with it completely. It does, however, limit Tyrese Maxey's total minutes upside, because if you know you're not going to play the first 4 minutes of the game, then you need to try to fit in 36 minutes into 44 instead of 48. It's just a little bit harder. So I'm going to say that Tyrese Maxey plays 32 minutes. I'm going to leave Shake Milton in for 16. We're going to get DeAnthony Melton. Now, he played 21 minutes even getting the start. Very standard first quarter, second quarter rotation. You know, he played 15 and a half minutes. He got another 6 minutes in the third quarter and then never saw the floor again in the fourth, which honestly is kind of weird to me. Maxey played the entire... So Maxey then took that rotation for Melton and then played the rest of the game. I don't necessarily think that's a guarantee to happen. They also closed with Niang, which is interesting. I'm going to go to 20. They can buy Maxey another minute there somehow. This is tricky. Let's get Embiid's minutes in there first, which we're obviously going with, 34. And we get Trez as the backup. PJ Tucker just plays like 24 minutes a game. George Niang is going to play, 18. We're going to get 32 to Tobias Harris. Oh man. So like 32 for Maxey is kind of tough if he doesn't start. He has to then play that third quarter straight through to the fourth quarter rotation for the most part. I'm going to take Maxi's minutes down to 30. And I guess technically we're going to get James Harden then in for, I'm going to say 36. Matisse Thybulle is going to get whatever I don't give to Melton. And that's going to be... Oh, man. I mean, look, he was on pace to play 30 minutes. The fact that he doesn't see the floor again is crazy to me. I can't just assume it's 21. You have to assume that he can pick up at least 4 more minutes. So I'm going to say 24 for Melton. I don't know how to go much higher than that. Unless they're willing to close with Melton over Niang. I'm guessing none of this is going to matter. I'm going to go to 26. 10 minutes to Thybulle. Rates will essentially stay the same. This will be better for Maxey. This is going to be tricky. So that's Philly. Curious to see what they look like. On the Clippers end of this one, Q-tag on Paul George. Oh, this is... Ugh. We're really going to do this today? All right, John Wall out for a while. No Boston, no Preston, no Diabate. Luke Kennard's still out. Kawhi and Marcus Morris are both available. Q-tag on Paul George in the late night hammer is just exactly what you would expect about this slate. Now, the good news is, my guess is none of these guys look any good for it. The bad news is we haven't seen Paul George play in 5 games, and that does coincide with like a mild change in what this team is doing. But for now, we have to assume that Paul George is playing. The question then becomes, who do we assume what is the starting lineup for the Clippers when Paul George gets back? Is it Man, George, Kawhi, Morris, Zubats? That seems like the most likely scenario. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to go 30 to Terrence Mann right out of the gate. That's the first spot. And then I think Zubats going in for 28 feels about right. I guess Moses Brown can keep playing, but at the same time, like, they don't have a ton of minutes going around. It could be Robert Covington as well. I don't have a great feel there, so I'll worry about that in a second. Let's get Marcus Morris in for, let's say, his 28. I think we get Nick Batum in for... I'm just going to start throwing 28 at a bunch of these dudes, except for Kawhi is going to go straight into, I don't know, 34, 30, 35, 34, 34. Go 34 to Kawhi. I'm going to go, I mean, it's not like Paul George is, like, if he's playing, he's just playing. So I'm going to go 34 to Paul George as well. Norm Powell has been playing like 27 minutes a game. We'll go 26 to Norm Powell. Who are we missing now? So 32 minutes left for some combination of Moses Brown, Reggie Jackson, or Robert Covington. Because with Wall out now, I think we see Reggie Jackson actually play. I wouldn't be surprised to see Reggie Jackson be the legitimate backup point guard. So if I go 18 minutes to Reggie Jackson, it does allow me to go to 14 on Moses Brown, or we think that that's Robert Covington. Now, those minutes I don't give a shit about. So what I'll do is set it up like this. I don't have a great feel there. We need to change the rates if Paul George is going to play. This is a legitimate disaster. We got to hope that none of the Clippers look borderline decent. All right. In games where Paul George and Kawhi Leonard both start, because that's really all that matters for this team. This is going to be awful. This team has the opportunity, like whether Paul George plays or not is interesting. The trickle-down effect after that is going to be huge. I'm actually going to go to 32 on Terrence Mann, 16 on Reggie Jackson. They're not going to throw Reggie Jackson into that many more minutes. All right, let's fix the rates. So we get 416 minutes of Paul George in the 13 starts that he and Kawhi have had together. 30% usage rate for PG. And it's 25 for Kawhi. So we'll get both of those guys in quickly. Zubats is at 14.5. Marcus Morris is at 18. Nick Batum is at 13. He's the same guy as always. Norm Powell off the bench, 193, 26% usage. Yeah, he doesn't mess around. And then Terrence Mann, 14.5. Nothing too crazy. Assist rates when these guys are out there. Kawhi actually gets a bit of a bump. Paul George is his normal self. Terrence Mann takes a bit of a hit. Nobody else really gets them anyway. And then rebounding, all basically the same. Kawhi with a little bit of a rebounding bump. Everybody else should be the same here. All right. Well, first look at the Clippers. I like Zubats a lot at 5,300. Scares me. It's going to be really hard to go to Kawhi at 10-3 on DraftKings. It's going to be a lot easier to go at 9,400 on FanDuel. Paul George is certainly more interesting than Kawhi is. Maybe I shouldn't assume that they're playing the same minutes, but until we know something different. What's Paul George out with? Right hamstring soreness. Okay, that does concern me a little bit. I'm going to take 1 minute away from Paul George. We'll take him down to 33. I mean, 5,700 for Terrence Mann's an interesting minutes play. You can roll the dice on Marcus Morris or Nick Batum or Norm Powell. I don't think that you can go to anybody after that. They're just blurry. They're really, really blurry. And then for Philly, nobody looks great. It's Embiid at 11-3 or 11-6. I think he's going to end up looking better than Jokic. Maxi's interesting. Melton is interesting. But on a per minute basis, none of these guys look all that good. I don't think we're going to see a lot of Philly either way. So, 4 games up, 4 games down. Let's run some crunches. Figure out what we're going to be seeing here, because this is going to be a pretty unique slate, in my opinion. I don't have a great feel for it right now. What I do have a great feel for, though, is BetMGM. So BetMGM wants you guys to hit the like button. There's 171 of you here. They want you to do that first. They also want you to get 2 free months of Stokastic Plus Platinum based on the link that's below. So click the link in the description, head on over. Not only will you get those 2 free months of Stokastic Plus Platinum, you can get up to $1,000 in bonus bets, in first bet insurance. So put in a sizable deposit. That's what is my recommendation to you guys. And I think that for your first bet, you should try to take a shot on an underdog. If you win, everything just stays in your account like normal. That is just your bankroll. That is your money. You just have all of that money in your account. If you happen to lose that first bet, you will get it back in bonus bets for whatever you put in. So if you put $500 down on something, you get $500 back in bonus bets. You can do that up to $1,000. Now, you got to be 21 or older, so be responsible, folks. And if you've got a gambling problem, I need you guys to call 1-800-GAMBLER. But for now, I need you guys to go check out BetMGM. It's just an incredible deal, folks. Take advantage. Take advantage. Now, let's run these crunches. This could go so many different directions. Let's go ahead and look at FanDuel first. So this is going to be FanDuel optimal on today's 4-gamer. 303.12. That's going to be the optimal by 0.67. No. 0.77. Trey Jones, Fred VanVleet, Kyrie Irving, Joe Harris, Nick Batum, Keldon Johnson, TJ Warren, Pascal Siakam, Nick Claxton. That all looks fine to me. Do I have Batum over projected, or is that just like a FanDuel quirk? Because I tend to get a lot of Batum from time to time. He's a $4,400 26-minute guy. 0.78 now. I don't have him over projected. Okay. I mean, lots of Brooklyn, no surprise. San Antonio on the opposite side. VanVleet, Siakam works. I like that lineup a lot. FanDuel power rankings. This is where it starts to get a little bit more interesting. Man, decent chance to get 3 nets at the top, but Fred VanVleet looks like he's going to pass up Joe Harris, as will Trey Jones. Yeah, Joe Harris has fallen a little bit here. I mean, TJ Warren's interesting, and I don't even think he's interesting. Kyrie Irving is my number 1 contender for today. Nick Claxton, number 2 on FanDuel. Fred VanVleet, 3. Trey Jones, 4. Drew Holiday, 5. Then it's Joe Harris, Anthony Simons, Keldon Johnson, TJ Warren, and Pascal Siakam rounding it out. Pretty flat, though. Nothing too crazy. Nobody pulling away in like a major aggressive manner. Now, DraftKings, I think, is going to look very, very different. Pricing seemed to be... It's just going to be a different vibe here on DraftKings. So we get DK projections in. Optimal lineup. Yeah, that's what I was expecting. 264.6. It's the optimal lineup by 0.46. Trey Jones, Royce O'Neal, Yuta Watanabe, Ben Simmons, Jakob Poeltl, Kyrie Irving, MPJ, and Nick Claxton. 5 Spurs in my optimal, 5 Spurs in my second optimal. You get 4 in the third, 4 and 4 again. It's just a lot of nets. A lot of nets. And then we look at the power rankings. And, you know, no surprise. A lot of the nets are congregating at the top. Please don't let Royce O'Neal be my number 1 play. Although Jakob Poeltl is going to be just as tough of a sell. It's going to be down the stretch they come. Jakob Poeltl. Tops for today for me against Brooklyn. Drew Holiday 2, Royce O'Neal 3, Joe Harris 4, MPJ 5, Kyrie, Trey Jones, Seth Curry, Nick Claxton, and Watanabe rounded out. So 6 nets in the top 10, with a 7th being Ben Simmons that is close enough. You just got to get to the nets today, guys. But that's it. We are done here, folks. 4 games up, 4 games down. Weird slate. Weird slate. I'm very curious to see what it's going to look like when I try to build my lineups out with these Nets guys. But for now, everybody, we're going to pack it in here. It's been swell. We got a monster show coming tomorrow. We're going to be going for the full 90 minutes at a minimum, I would expect. You get me and Laffy today on the strategy show. So come join me for that. That'll be a good time. Haven't not hosted a show in a while, so I'll be in the analyst seat for that one. I'll bring my best Adam Share on-off numbers if I can. Good luck tonight, everybody. You'll get me on the deeper dive tonight with Adam, so we'll be breaking it down later tonight at 5:30, I believe, because lock is at 7:30 tonight, so you get an extra half hour. Good luck tonight, everybody. Had a good time here because this was the process.